I knew something was off the second I got up. It wasn't the kind of dread you feel when you wake up late for work or realize you left your car unlocked. It was more like this itch at the base of my neck that wouldn't go away, a static charge running under my skin that told me to pay attention. I brushed my teeth in silence, staring at the bathroom mirror, half expecting to see someone else's face looking back at me, but it was just me. Jason Torres, still groggy, still me. I live alone in a bland apartment complex in the middle of Jacksonville, Florida, with a view of the Walmart parking lot and a dying pothos plant that's managed to survive on neglect. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. The hallway outside was dead quiet. No babies crying from 3B, no sound of the Torres twins fighting upstairs, not even the usual morning stomp of old Mrs. Grayley walking her poodle. I checked my phone. 2 missed texts from my ex, nothing urgent. News notifications buzzing like a mosquito. Stay indoors, authorities investigating. I ignored it. Clickbait. Lately it feels like every day comes with some new reason to panic. School shootings, heat warnings, recall alerts. But this felt different. The warning didn't say why. On my way to get coffee, I passed a military van parked in front of the building. Weird. We get cops sometimes, but military? 2 dudes in camouflage sat inside, not moving. One of them was drinking Red Bull, the other stared straight ahead. I tried not to look. The air felt sticky. I almost turned around, but my feet kept going. I heard coughing from inside the van, hard and wet. A kind of cough that sounds like someone choking on glass. The urge to get away crawled up my spine, but I shook it off. The coffee shop was only 2 blocks away, but I counted 3 people on the walk, all of them hunched over or moving slow. At the corner, I saw something that stopped me cold. A trail of blood, bright and fresh, leading from a trash can to a storm drain. Nobody seemed to notice or care. I glanced around, but everyone had their heads down, headphones on, eyes locked on their phones. I almost called the cops, but what would I even say? There's blood on the street, but nobody's screaming. That's Jacksonville, I guess. People mind their own business, even when they shouldn't. Back home, I noticed my phone bars flicker from 4 to 0 and back. I tried calling my mom, straight to voicemail. Tried my best friend Tommy, nothing. I opened Twitter. Half the tweets were jokes about martial law Monday. The other half were videos of empty streets, sirens wailing in the distance. Somebody posted a clip of soldiers yelling at a family to get back inside, but nobody could tell if it was real or just more staged garbage. Texted Tommy again, no response. My group chat was silent, except for Liv, who kept spamming memes. I tried watching the news, but every channel said the same thing. Stay indoors. This is for your safety. But none of them said why. On Reddit, the conspiracy nuts were having a field day, but even they didn't know anything real. Something about how the satellites were down, or an attack, or some new virus, but nobody knew for sure. My neighbor Andy knocked on my door. Andy's a nurse, tough guy, always bragging about never getting sick. Today he looked awful. Gray, his eyes were bloodshot, skin pale as printer paper. He asked if I had any Tylenol. He coughed into his sleeve, and it sounded just like that guy in the van. I gave him the last bottle I had. He stared at it like he didn't know what it was. "You should go back inside, Andy," I told him. He nodded, but didn't move. Just stood there in the hall, swaying like he was about to pass out. I shut the door, gently. By late afternoon, the internet was crawling. The pages wouldn't load, apps crashed every couple of minutes. News stations kept looping the same warnings. Do not go outside. Emergency night declared. No weather alert, no amber alert, just this heavy official message that didn't say anything. The sun started to set early, or maybe it just felt that way. Shadows stretched weird across my living room floor. I taped up the windows, blocked the door with my dresser. I'm not crazy, just cautious. You grow up in Florida, you know how to prep for hurricanes, and this felt like one, only quieter. Worse. I kept thinking about Andy, standing in the hallway. I thought about my mom, alone at her place, probably watching the news and worrying about me. I thought about Tommy, and how he always answers my texts within seconds, and now he's just gone. Something's off, I know it. I can't shake the feeling. I don't know what's happening, but it's here, and I can feel it spreading, even if I can't see it yet. My hands won't stop shaking. I keep telling myself not to go outside, not tonight, not ever maybe. Whatever's out there, it's coming. And I'm not ready. I tried to sleep, but the night pressed in on my apartment from every direction, thick and heavy. I kept the TV on for background noise, but every channel was the same. A blue screen and a voice saying, "Emergency night, stay inside. This is not a drill." The kind of voice you'd expect to hear before a tornado, except there were no storms, just silence, and those distant, broken-up sirens. I kept thinking about Andy out in the hallway, how his breathing sounded like water in his lungs, how the Tylenol bottle just rolled in his hand like he'd forgotten what it was for. I barely knew him, but I kept checking my peephole to see if he was still there. He wasn't. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a group text, Tommy and Liv, just a string of emojis at first, crying faces, the scream one, and then a message, "Do not open the door, not even for me." That freaked me out. I texted back, nothing. Tried calling, no signal. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, my mouth was dry. I drank straight from the sink and almost choked when I saw my own reflection in the window, pale and wild-eyed. A thump came from the hallway, then another. It wasn't loud, just heavy, like someone dragging a bag of sand. I pressed my ear to the door, breathing. Then a voice, low and raspy. "Please, please help." I froze. It sounded like Andy, but the words were slow, wrong, like he was learning to talk all over again. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, shaking. Another thump, then scraping. Something dragged across my door, slow and sticky, like a handprint made with syrup. My heart thudded so hard it hurt. I didn't move until the noises stopped. I listened for hours. Sometime after 3, a crash from the apartment next door. Glass breaking, something heavy falling. A scream, fast and wet, cut off quick. Then footsteps in the hall. Heavy, awkward, like someone walking on broken legs. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep behind the couch. I pressed my back against the door and didn't breathe. Whoever it was, they stopped outside my apartment. I heard them sniffing, wet, sucking sounds. My phone started buzzing in my hand. A notification, emergency alert, do not go outside, do not open the door. Like they knew. Like the phone was watching me. Eventually, it got quiet again. I sat down and waited for the sun to come up, but it never really did. Just this weird gray light that made my living room look underwater. The power flickered off for a while, then came back, but the Wi-Fi never returned. The news on TV was just loops of sirens, sometimes static, sometimes nothing. I peeked through the blinds. The military van was still outside, but the windshield was shattered, and one of the soldiers was slumped over the wheel, head against the horn. I saw movement. Someone in a hospital gown stumbling across the parking lot, skin all wrong, walking like every step hurt. There was more blood on the sidewalk, a streak like someone had crawled instead of walked. I pulled the blinds shut and moved away from the window. By late afternoon, I was losing it. I needed to know if Tommy and Liv were okay. I texted them again. Nothing. Then, against every instinct, I cracked my door just a little. The hallway was empty, except for a big, dark stain smeared across the wall where Andy had been. The smell hit me. Rot, metal, something like burned plastic. I almost puked. I locked the door, pushed my dresser harder against it. That was when I heard the knocking. 3 slow knocks. Then silence. My phone buzzed again, one last time. It was a voice message from Liv. She whispered, "They're not dead. Don't let them in. Don't." And then just static. I wanted to scream, but I just sat there, knees hugged to my chest, listening to my heart pounding in my ears. Outside, the sky got darker, the gray turning purple, then black. The rules were different now. You couldn't trust voices. You couldn't trust faces. The world had changed overnight. I wasn't ready, but there was no going back. I didn't sleep. The darkness pressed against my windows and made every wall in my apartment feel thin, like cardboard. I kept picturing Andy, or whatever was left of him, standing out there, waiting for me to make a mistake. I wished I still smoked. At least that would give me something to do with my hands. Instead, I just paced back and forth with the baseball bat, listening, waiting for some sign it was safe again. But nothing about this felt safe. I try to remember the last time I felt normal. Maybe it was the week before, watching the Jags lose with Tommy and Liv, talking about nothing, no alarms, back when the world made sense. A little after dawn, or what passed for it, the silence was broken by a banging on the door across the hall. It was desperate. Someone was trying to get out, not in. I pressed my ear to my door and heard sobbing. Then, fast footsteps, a door yanked open, and a struggle. I heard a voice I thought was Mrs. Greeley begging someone to let her go. She screamed, and it was cut off, hard. After that, nothing. I didn't open my door. I couldn't. The day dragged on in that sick underwater light. Hunger set in. I ate canned beans cold, barely tasting them. The news was gone now, just static. My phone died and wouldn't recharge. I wanted to call my mom again just to hear her voice, but the phone was dead weight in my pocket. All I had left was myself and the walls closing in. Late afternoon, footsteps in the hall, 2 sets, quick and purposeful. I froze by the window, peeking through the blinds. Tommy and Liv, or what looked like them. They moved wrong, hunched, scanning the hallway like animals. Liv's hair was tangled and matted with something dark. Tommy's hoodie was streaked with blood. My stomach dropped. They stopped in front of my door. I heard Liv say my name, soft and stretched, like she was testing the word, Jason. I wanted to answer. Every part of me screamed to open the door, but something in her voice was off, like she was speaking through a mouth full of broken teeth. She started pounding on the door, slow and steady. "Let me in. Jason, let me in." I backed away, bat raised, heart slamming against my ribs. The pounding got harder. I heard Tommy now, but his voice was lower, a sound more animal than human. "Let us in, man. It's okay, just let us in." They kept pounding for what felt like forever. Then suddenly it stopped. I waited, holding my breath, every muscle tight. When I finally dared to look again, they were gone. Just streaks of something black smeared across my door. That was it. I wasn't safe, not even behind my barricades. I dragged the fridge against the door, stacked chairs on top, did anything I could to put space between me and the outside. I went to the window, thinking about escape, but the parking lot was crawling with more of them. Neighbors, strangers, people in uniforms and pajamas. Some of them moved with purpose, others just wandered, but they all had that same dead look. Heads twitching, skin gray and slack. Jacksonville was gone. I wasn't getting out, not tonight. I tried to remember what made me human. Memories. My mom's voice. The sound of Tommy's laugh before all this. The feeling of Liv's hand on my shoulder, telling me it would all be okay. I clung to that. But now I had to make a choice. Night fell. There was shouting, then gunshots, then silence. Someone pounded on my door again, hard enough that the whole fridge shuddered. I gripped the bat, sweat pouring down my back, ready to do whatever it took. They wouldn't get in. Not while I was breathing. I waited like that until the sky turned black and the only thing I could hear was my own heart. When the sun finally rose, I knew the world was gone. I wasn't the same either. I had crossed a line, one I couldn't uncross. I picked up my backpack, took one last look at the mess that was my home, and stepped out into the unknown, closing the door behind me. The rules were gone. All that mattered now was survival.